recap of all the guys' selections put up in each game, plus all the EFL action that's going to come to you now. And Mark, we'll go to you first because Adrian's got a couple of selections. Bolton versus Barnsley. Now, for selling the playoffs, I'm guessing this may not be the game to completely sell it for the neutral if they're going to go on expecting goals galore.
Well, the playoffs isn't always about goals. I think the first legs, the first legs are traditionally tight affairs because the must not lose element quite often kind of overweighs and overbears. It's edgy, it's nervous. These teams who get this far, they're good teams, and they're not sort of scrappers down the bottom end. They know the way about a football pitch, in both boxes. And I think here, I did some research last year on first leg EFL playoffs going back to the year 2000, and I think it only averages about 2 goals per game, which is higher than I actually expected it to be. But I think you're looking at about 65-68% success rate if you back the unders. And League One especially has been quite, pretty goal shy, shall we say, in the first legs. If you go back to 98-99, there's been 48 first legs. 35 of those went under 2.5 goals, which is 73%, and 40% went under 1.5 goals. And I'm just not anticipating this game escalating into anything too dramatic. Bolton are quite process-driven, like to keep things pretty tight, pretty controlled under Ian Evatt. They are quite possession-heavy too. They played out the season with 10 successive League One games going under 2.5 goals. I think there'll be a game plan just to stay in this tie, but also look to be the aggressors. And I think for Barnsley, who are always kind of traditionally strong at Oakwell, I think they'll be coming into this fixture saying, a draw in the pocket wouldn't be the worst result, a narrow defeat wouldn't be too bad, but a win by a low scoring margin would be brilliant. They'll fancy their chances in the return leg. So, not anticipating too much adventure from both these two teams. So just surprised considering all the sort of overwhelming long-term statistics on first leg ties for under 2.5 goals was trading close to 1.8. I think whenever you see a price like that in the playoffs in the first leg, you have to sort of get involved almost. It's almost religion. So, it won't be the most fun watch. It never is, but I normally just back overs and unders, I should say, and BTS knows across the board when I can and the prices allow, and I think this one definitely does.
Okay, yes. I'm starting playoff stats there from Mark O'Haire. Under 2.5 goals, Bolton Barnsley 1.82 currently on Matchbook. Adrian, over to you. Championship, you mentioned this game already. Coventry versus Middlesbrough. Talk us through your thought process here and how the game's going to go.
Yeah, I was at the game the other day, and it became a bit of a non-event second half. I think that both teams set for the fact that they might play one another in this semi-final, and there weren't a lot of chances created. I think Coventry looked the more dangerous through Gyökeres up front throughout the game. But they've got Akpom and Archer Middlesbrough. But I've watched the last 2 Middlesbrough matches flesh at Rotherham and against Coventry, and I wasn't massively blown away by them. I think that they have hit a flat spot. They play some lovely football, but they've not been carving out brilliant numbers of chances, not quality chances anyway. And as Mark said, this is all about staying in the tie. Back to the side, level or, narrow defeat or a narrow win. I think that's the only way I can see this panning out, really. When you get matches where you play one another in quick succession, I think that drives down the goals normally as well, because that familiarity just leads you to be more aware of where the dangers are. Boro, for example, will certainly have more of a game plan or a better game plan for handling Gyökeres they did the other day at the Riverside. So I think it's going to be tight. Coventry are solid, especially at home. 20 clean sheets, by the way, this season for Coventry, for their keeper, Ben Wilson. Brilliant achievement. But in big matches at the CBS Arena, against the top 9 rather. So there's 8 matches there. They've conceded 3 goals, Coventry. His opponents have turned up at their stadium. They've either kept clean sheets or given 1 goal max. And that's turning out. I think it could be 0-0 or 1-0 either way. That's how I see this game panning out. So for me, to see both teams to score no at 1.97, a little bit like Mark's price with the unders there, it's like, I think it's one you've got to take. I think there's every chance that one or both teams won't score here.
Okay, Coventry versus Mill. Yes, Mark.
Little stat for you. I know it's probably not going to be too helpful for the playoffs, but I was astonished by this doing my prep for the playoffs. Across the whole of the EFL, only one team has kept fewer away clean sheets than Middlesbrough in the whole of the EFL. They've kept one clean sheet on their travels. Forest Green Rovers didn't keep a clean sheet away from home in League One, and they were finished bottom of the pile by a long stretch. Incredible, really.
Yeah.
There you go. One of Middlesbrough could be in the Premier League next year. Coventry versus Middlesbrough, both teams to score now 1.97. And Adrian, your second selection here, I'm fascinated with this. This is the second League One playoff game, but just for viewers that haven't been up to date with League One all year, Sheffield United came third in League One, 5 points off winning the championship, or winning the League One, let alone getting the 2 points extra for automatic promotion. Is this coming into your thinking for this bet? Because it must be so hard to chase a goal all year and then reset that in less than a week.
It's so harsh, honestly, to get the points tally that Sheffield Wednesday had and to have to go through the playoffs. It must be such a blow to them. And look, like last year, they ended up in the playoffs. Something similar happened, and they didn't show up against Sunderland. Obviously, we look what's happened to top end championship this season. So yeah, there'll be real frustration that they've got to play the game. A tough one, because if you look over the last 10 matches in League One, Peterborough best behind Ipswich and Plymouth. So they've been really, really good under Darren Ferguson. They did beat Sheff at home in the regular season 2-0. And Wednesday aren't, for a side with points, their away record against the best teams in the league isn't good. They've won 1 of 5, finished in the top 6. That one was at Bolton. And get this, they conceded 2 or more in 4 of those 5 games. So, when put under pressure on the road, Sheffield have not been as good as you would imagine, given the number of points they accrued over the course of the season. So they finished the campaign okay, Sheffield Wednesday. Peterborough slightly better. They've got Clark Harris. They've got Ephron Mason Clark. These are 2 possible match winners. I think it's going to be hard. Really think it's going to be hard for the Owls to take a lead away from this first leg. So when I saw the odds and I saw that you could get Peterborough draw no bet at even money, I'm happy with that, because I think that is a more than fair price. I actually, in my own head, make them slight favourites to win the game. So, that's my selection here. Look, they are hit and miss, Peterborough. You can't really trust them, but they have beaten Sheffield Wednesday. They've beaten Plymouth at home. They've beaten Derby at home, Pompey at home. So they're hot. They can beat anyone in the division. And I expect them to be absolutely pumped up for this one. So, Posh, draw no bet, please.
Posh draw no bet, Posh plus 0.0, available at even money on Matchbook. There's 2 separate markets for that, draw no bet and plus 0.0, but it is the same bet. Mark, 2 selections. We're going to call this in any other bet section. You have one from